Hello. No sound. Well, there we go. Luke has no sound. Nope, still no sound, Luke. Okay, folks. Well, I guess it's just me for the time being. Welcome to VWDRCTV for it's episode 11. Obviously, we just finished our first round of Heads Up at the weekend at GTI Festival, which went down very well. I'm sure I'll have a chat about that in a minute. And tonight, obviously, we've got here he is. He's back in the room.
What happened to my hair as well? Didn't look like that a second ago. Jesus Christ. I got electrocuted, I think. How are we doing?
Yes. Okay. Obviously, Luke's back in the room now. So just saying we've got Dave Henderson from DH Automotive and Jon Crawford from Crawford Motorsports in his house tonight. Dave, obviously, congratulations to Dave for winning Heads Up yesterday. Fantastic effort.
And the biggest trophy in the world, I'll have you know. That brought him down to earth, didn't it?
It did. It's not. It's not small. It's just far away. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's it. When I saw the photo, I literally did not know what those trophies were, and they got put up in the cabinet. And then when I saw that photo, I was like, "What the hell is that?"
Well, I was looking for a bigger box initially.
So it was like, I knew there was some boxes up there, but usually when we do the heads up stuff, Santapod supply the trophy.
Yes.
So when I got it, I was like, "There's no trophy here."
It's the actual
I was like, there is some
style one, isn't it?
That's it. So usually, yeah, you get the Oscar. But well. But yeah, Abby was straight away. She was like, "Don't worry, take a photo. I think you take a photo with this. Get a bigger one in the post to you." So of course. Anyway, so everyone is joining in. So good evening, everyone. I love it. John Gallant, even from Taco Towers. Did you see last week after we did the interviews with John and that lot? All of a sudden, a lot of people started getting that Taco Cat shirt up on their feeds.
Facebook, yeah. Zuckerberg is listening.
All right, Craig Wright says, what's on tonight's agenda? We are talking VW Sportsman with Professor Jon Crawford, and we are talking VWDRC Heads Up with round number 1 winner Dave Henderson. So we're going to be chatting to him about that bloody awesome RS3. The sound of it, the speed of it, everything. It's an amazing car. Graham Freeman, hello from Sweden. Nice.
Yeah, Graham.
Anyway. Now, of course, we usually open the show. We'll talk about some of the stuff. And do you know what? I was talking to a few of the races this weekend. And there was stuff like I was talking about drag days. And I said, "Oh, are you going to come and enter drag days? There's a good chance." I thought you got a good chance of taking home like $2,000 in the heads up class. And they're like, "Oh, there's money to win." And I'm like, what are we doing every week? It's just like, hello.
Yeah, lots of it. Yeah, there is money to be won. Not even Yeah, not even like a little amount, is it? We are talking four
No.
figures. A lot of dosh.
There's lots. Right. Anyway, of course, VWDRC Championship round number 1 kicks off this weekend. We are at the Festival of Power from Thursday. Cracking entries for this, and the weather is looking amazing. Craig Wright can second that because he's always looking at the weather straight away. But someone that she's put this morning, mini heat wave this weekend, and I was like, hell yes!
Can't wait to even redder face. Excellent.
Yeah, I can join in with the pod face.
Pack some sunscreen, kids, because it's going to be a roaster, I think.
It is going to be lovely. Now, of course, obviously, usual stuff. VW Pro and VW Sportsman Prize Fund, as you can see there, is all supported by our headline sponsors: Hangar 30, Darkside Developments, White Label Consulting and Management Services, The Car Kitchen, ProRace Engineering, Artec Performance, CG Motorsport Performance, Clutch Specialist, and GP Turbo. So thank you very much to all of those. They create that massive prize funds that we have got going for our VW Pro and VW Sportsman races. And then, of course, I did not finish it earlier, did I? Oh, well. The associate sponsors there, including Cirque Motorsport, which I did do a photo of, just failed to upload it. Typically, as I've been, it's been a day of failures today. I can tell you, including for you. that was like the tip of the iceberg. Where you were yesterday, no, on Saturday when you arrived at Santapod, that's where I was this afternoon. I went to get stickers for the race car. They're not ready. I went to sort out some t-shirts and stuff. They weren't ready. I went to do something else. That wasn't ready. And then I went to hook up to your bloody trailer. Literally, just like every time I do it, I just reverse up and just knock the hook up, and then I go, I'm nearly there. I can hook it on. I went dunk, and then I heard dong, dong, and I was like, I can guarantee you that is like bread on butter. That wheel is going to be facing down. And I literally looked down and I was like, brilliant. Just
some freshly powder coated wheels rolling down concrete. Yes, it is.
But thankfully, Ross has said by the time we put the tire on it, all of that's going to be hidden. So
that is
I could have cried. I could have cried.
Weekend.
Other stuff in this news this week, which I just literally uploaded. If you saw yesterday, Mr. Carl Goldsmith was a winner of a set of 32 racing wheels, jamming it. Every time we do these sort of things, it's like someone who's won from it already that wins it, and I'm like, but then Carl's got like 4 different cars. So
if I win something again, it's going to
be horrendous. But of course, while we did it, he announced these wheels that are going to be available in the next coming months. I really like these. They remind me of remember Ryan McGrath, who had the, what was he racing in?
Polo Loco.
Oh, he had the Polo Loco, but they're almost like the Audi wheels.
They're cool as hell. Yeah. If Si's watching, can you get them in 5x100? Yeah, they're smart, aren't
they? Yeah, they're nice. They're nice. And of course, as we go into the weekend, we will have elapsed times, banners, t-shirts, hopefully, and mugs. So, and we've got a little trade stall that we're going to be setting up in the pits. So, obviously, Abby's going to be there with the members list. She'll be ticking off members as we go, giving out any of the magazines to everyone, because obviously all club members get one for free. If you're not at the racetrack, obviously we'll be posting them out to you, and then they are available for £2.50 as well for general public to buy. So just buy one if you're not yet a club member. Please buy one. It supports the club. And when I went to Hayburner today, Ned was like, this is the first magazine she's done, isn't it? And I was like, yeah. He was like, it's amazing. He goes, for a first magazine, he goes, this is amazing. He was like, next year, if you do it again, I'm quite happy to put an advert in there. I was like, well, that's bang on. Right. I think that's everything kind of covered, because as we talk about this weekend, we might as well bring in Dave Henderson, the man of the moment this weekend, because he smashed everything. And we'll bring him in. And obviously, we've got Professor Jon Crawford coming in to talk about VW Sportsman. So, John, if you just hang on a second while we bring Dave in.
Hi, everyone.
Even Dave.
Good evening. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
You must be tired. What time did you get home?
Just after 12 last night or this morning.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So obviously, a lot of people complaining about fuel at the moment, driving up and down. We asked you this a couple of seconds ago, but obviously you can say it to the people. You started off your weekend on Friday, heading from whereabouts in Scotland are you?
Central Scotland, Falkirk.
Oh, nice. And you went to?
I went down to Cornwall to Spitfire. It was on the bucket list. It had to be done.
Find a more local track. I mean, Crail's down the road, Dave.
Crail's literally an hour up the road. Yeah, let's travel to the other side of the country.
Well, you can get past it, can you? It's gone.
Yeah.
It's all right.
It was, you know what? Really nice people down there. Loads of questions asked. Genuine interest. So it was nice. It was nice.
Yeah, it's quite a good thing down there.
Yeah, really friendly. Everyone was really good. So yeah, it was good.
Was it on a par with Crail's surface? Or was it worse or better?
It's worse.
Worse.
At the finish line, when we turned the power up a little bit, you've got a compression at the end where it falls down and the car bottomed out. So when I did the 9.4, I was like, that's it, enough on the trailer. So it got very light as it came back up, and I was like, no, that's it. Game over.
Well, that's it. I mean, for years, obviously, we've been watching a lot of our foreign races, maybe in Germany, Hungary, and stuff like that. And that's the kind of racetracks that they have.
Yeah.
There's so many times that there was a video I posted the other day with Flotis from Greece with a Peugeot 106, and he's got like 700 horsepower. And people are like, I can never understand how these cars have got 700 horsepower, but they're only running 9.5s. And I'm like, they're on an airfield. I was like, it's a little bit different. We're kind of blessed that we've got Santa Pod that is open every weekend and gives us the track preparation that we require.
Yeah.
When the guys out there are literally going to an airfield that's got a bit of glue, it's been brushed over, and then some of them are now starting to put a bit of glue down on the track, and that's it.
Yeah, it's
sweet, isn't it?
It was challenging.
Yeah,
like that. They can't prep the surface, and you can't do repairs, and they fill it up with concrete. So, but it was better than what Cornwall was. But you know what? Being there, I've done it, and I would probably go back. In all fairness, but I don't think I would maybe go as hard.
No, that's it. Well, I'm the same. I like ticking them off. So even places like that, I'd look to go to because, as you said, it's on the bucket list. You tick it off, and you go, been to that one, enjoyed it.
Yeah, I remember going to York a few years ago, and it was kind of similar. And on that day there, the guy came off his bike at the end because it was that rough, So it wasn't a good ending to that day. But it's again, it's one of those things you need to go around them all to say that you've been there.
Yeah, that's it. I remember a few years ago that there was a few guys talking about doing a UK drag week, and they wanted to include like Spitfire. There was to be Hurricane Raceway, which is, I believe, is like near Newcastle, which again is like another airfield. But they wanted to do Spitfire, Hurricane, Crail, York, and Santa Pod. That was kind of like the idea. But unfortunately, Santa Pod is obviously the only one that's going to do. It's going to be the start and the finish because you want the best times, but then the other ones couldn't really do midweek. So unfortunately, it was never going to kick off, which is a shame because it would be a laugh.
The UK legalities of driving your race car on the street. With some time.
It's easy for me. It's road legal. I just change tyres and away we go. So the choice when it's MOT'd and taxed.
Nice.
Well, yeah.
When I started 3 years with the last RS3, I drove up and down the country with the car. Everything.
Yeah, I remember when I first met you. You'd driven there with some slicks in the boot and then drove home.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. But
that's crazy.
Again, now I'm in a fortunate position where I think, what if something happens? So into the trailer and it works now. That's the main thing.
I think you go a bit harder when you haven't got to drive it home.
You tend to take it a bit easier.
Yeah, there's always that for slap a shaft or something, or something daft. It's like better not. But if you go on the trailer, you don't care, do you?
Yeah, that's it. So it's a bonus for getting everything in. It's a better place to be, thankfully.
Yeah.
That's it. Now, of course, do you own a tuning company yourself?
No, I'm basically I am a dealer for MRC.
Okay.
So that's how that works.
Nice, nice. So have you got a garage yourself that you just generally
Yes.
work on cars?
Yeah,
And
we've got the garage here with the dyno and a separate unit out the back. So yeah, basically bring the cars in. Anything bolt on needs done, we do it in the workshop and then onto the dyno for tuning.
nice. And that comes in handy, I'm sure.
Very. It's quite good for diagnostic stuff as well. If you've got running issues and you know the customer will tell you, oh, it's got a noise or it's got a knock at 100 miles an hour. Dyno. It's handy for that.
I bet. That's it. And obviously every time we do like pre-season testing or when we did the drag days, there seems to be a whole load of cars that come from Scotland, I'm assuming, because they got DH Automotive down the side, and every one of them is damn quick.
Yeah, some quick cars. There's a lot of quick cars out there. Yeah. But yeah,
that's it.
We
just need to rope them all in to come to drag days in, because that's coming quick now. That is actually only 7 weeks away now. So yesterday I was running around and any of the guys like Irfan Patel, Dave, Dougie, I was just going around going enter. I need them all in because I think we can make this probably one of the best sort of events because it's behind closed doors. You haven't got all the general public just milling around in our way. We can get all the tuning companies to come down and basically bring their best cars and just put on not really a good show because it's our own show. So I think it would just be a good fight between all of us. And then obviously someone at the end of the day is going to take home some damn fine money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's you know what, for doing it this time and having a really good prize fund for it, it's nice.
Yeah.
Good effort.
The thing is, we don't have the restrictions of putting on a show for the punters sort of thing. We haven't got like a bottom line where we need to take home money ourselves after doing a weekend's work. It's kind of like the money that's coming in, all the money is going out because as a non-profit club, we can't even keep it at the end of the season. So every year we're like, right, this is the prize fund for next year. And so all of the money coming in for drag days is like, right, if we get these entries, we can pay out this prize money and make an amazing event. And then hopefully we'll keep it going every year.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's addictive.
Basically, the more money we got. That's
it. With your car, I mean, you're knocking on the door of I'm knocking on the door of the 8s these days. What sort of modifications have you done to your car? Because obviously that's an expensive motor to buy just from the factory.
It is. It is.
I mean, because every day, like a lot of people are like, oh, all these cars are just going so fast these days. It's not fair. They're making it look easy, and I'm like, well, it's not really easy because that's like a 60 grand car that he's bought, and then you pulled apart and improved. So there's nothing easy about it.
No, nothing. But again, typically it's the way it's put together. I don't scrimp the stuff, so it needs to be the best. You can't scrimp on engine builds and bits and pieces on it because if you go there, like, and I see it happen sometimes. Again, fortunate probably I've got a better budget than some, so I haven't scrimped on anything, and there's still more to do to the car to make it lighter, faster. We're still
okay. So there's more in the works. This is not the end. Just getting that 8 is not enough. There's plans for more.
Yeah. We've all got goals, and where I wanted to be from the first outing 3 weeks ago. We rocked it off the trailer, and the first run was a 9.3, which was I broke my personal best, and then we did a 9 flat. So it's not bad for its first outing.
Not bad at all, though.
No, not too bad. 9.3. I mean, we said it the other day when we were still working on the car, and the track opened, and literally you went straight down, and it was like, oh, 9 feet. And then I think Dougie come out straight after that and was like, and we were like, Okay, so the bar's been set for the day then.
No
Yes.
messing around.
No,
It's
it's
no
yeah.
trespassers.
I think the goal is always to go faster, but it's all the other bits you've got to take into consideration. You know,
That's it.
we couldn't get traction on Sunday, so pulled the power out and actually went faster, which doesn't make sense sometimes.
No, that's it. Well, I mean, as I keep saying up in the tower, all the usual stuff. Obviously, over the winter, the first 300 foot of the track was basically all the rubber was taken off because they were having troubles last year or in the coming since we've had the new concrete track down, getting the rubber to actually stick to the surface, and because it was so smooth, it just wouldn't stick. So they took all the rubber off. They've ground it so it's a little bit rougher, and now the rubber seems to be sticking a lot better. So, and the main test is obviously going to be this weekend, because until sort of like now, really, they've put rubber down, but they can't put the money into building the track up to prep until basically this weekend. So you'd have seen like the counter rotator on the back of the tractor this weekend. They did a couple of passes with it, but then like for today, tomorrow, Ian's basically going to be sat in the tractor just going up and down all day long, just laying rubber down on the track because they've got to build it up basically for, well, we've got Top Fuel running this weekend, Nitro, Funny Car, Pro Mod.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter how much prep they do, the fact that we're going to have a weekend with 312 entrants, of which probably what, 280 of them are all slick tyre cars.
Yeah.
Just means that the level of prep is going to be next week is going to be completely different to what we had this week. And then from there, gradually, the track will get better all season.
Yeah, it was
So hopefully, by the time you think about by the time we come around to drag days, you will have had Easter, door slammers, FIA main event, and then we've basically got one weekend after that, and then it's our event. So the track at drag days is going to be absolutely spot on. If the weather's there,
you guarantee that 8 days. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, that's it.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's it. Oh no! At that point, I'm racing in the same class. But you stick to your nines, mate.
Yeah, nice one.
That's it. Well, obviously, we've still got to try and get all these people to enter the class, and obviously, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a good mix. I think, as you said, there's going to be a few 8-second cars in there. There's going to be a whole number of 9-second cars in there, and then still going to be 10 seconds and maybe even 11-second cars, because any of those can enter in the class. But it's first to the finish. It doesn't mean just because there's going to be some fast ones in there doesn't mean they're going to win.
I found that hard yesterday as well. You know, trying to build boost to get off the line.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like you're sleeping there when cars. Richard with his caddy, he had some jump. And I'm like, you know, it's if you're sleeping, you've had it.
Absolutely, no, that's it. It's going to be quite hard, especially with that way. As you said, some of the cars are literally just going to be. That's what I was waiting for this weekend. I kept looking at the reaction times of some of the cars, and I was like, well, that car is faster. I was like, but I reckon they're going to tree them. But then at the same time, I was like, but you've probably got a good 0.5, 0.8 of a second on them. So you can afford to be a bit lazy on the tree compared to them. But when it comes to drag days, I think it's going to be tough for everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, well, since you're on here, of course, we got Abby sent me the table for Heads Up this week. Obviously, anyone that's down there at the bottom, unfortunately, who didn't qualify, obviously we're brutal with Heads Up. You don't get any points. You get nothing. It's like you weren't even there. But of course, you basically took home every bonus point in qualifying and then won the event. So you've got a nice little healthy lead there at the moment. And then, of course, Geordie, Richard Milton, Jake and Bailey, Grant Parker. So, and I think, well, first round it wasn't quiet. We still had originally 16 entered, which dropped down to 14. But I think as we go through the season, I think by the time we get to Dash Drag Day, it's going to be a lot busier. I think quite a few of the cars are going to be finished.
It was. I thought it was a great start to the season. Yeah, with the weather, everyone was there. You know, that was pretty good. A lot of good runs. Oh yeah, I thought it was a really good first bit of the season. It's always difficult because people are still doing stuff to the cars, or the weather's potentially a bit iffy. You know, so people don't turn up as much. But yeah, definitely a good start of the season. I'm glad we're doing it again.
The main thing is when we started it, it was a mix of people wanting to do heads up, and then a few of the bracket guys joining in. Now it's kind of starting to spread apart, and you've got your heads up contingent who will stay in that class, and then that will help. That once we've got a good number of cars that will stay in that class, obviously Santapod want us to put it into the main events, which we will look to do if and when we get to the point where it's sustainable as a class on its own, and then you can do all the big rounds and stuff like that.
Yeah, it should be good.
Oh, that's it. Right, we have got Jon Crawford in the background as well. We need to chat to him, and then obviously we'll chat to him a bit. You'll stay there, Dave, and then obviously once we're in, we'll mix in, and we've got a few questions to ask you both anyway. But since Professor is sitting at home, I'm going to ask him why we call him the Professor as well. Evening, Jon.
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. Congratulations,
very
Dave.
good.
I was following you on the ET slips at the weekend, and phenomenal bit of kit. I saw your car at the test days, and it just blew me away. That, the rest of them in that sort of little huddle of the DH cars, they're absolutely amazing. So tip of the hat to you, mate.
Appreciate that. Thank you. It's good. It's good getting them all together and coming down. It's a good bit of camaraderie with us all.
Yeah.
On the prep day, I just closed the workshop and brought everyone down.
That's perfect. That is. See that you're a good boss. I mean, you're not quite on the level of Dougie kind of boss, just letting his employee have his 9-second car or his 8-second car at the club. Because I was yesterday, I kept looking at it, I was like, Dougie had one form, and then the fastest VW was someone else, and I was like, who is this?
Yeah,
what's going on here? Yeah.
That's
it was very confusing at the time. But of course, Jon, so VW Sportsman Championship is about to kick off this weekend.
Indeed.
Are you prepared? Have you changed the coolant, charged the battery?
Yeah, we had to swap the battery because schoolboy error. When I parked it up in October, when we'd done the last run what you brung after the last event, I stupidly left the tailgate up. These are first world problems, I know, but left the tailgate up and the battery connected. So, of course, came to it in February to do the start, and the battery's as flat as a witch's tit. So, and it was junk. It was, I borrowed Paul's regen charger from Egg, and that wouldn't do anything with it at all. So it was, fortunately, my lad Dom, whose car is at the other end of the workshop, said, well, you can use my battery for now. So that saved us a little bit of cash and got us running again. Nice. So yeah, we've what have we done with it? We've done oil and filter. We've given it a clean. I'd like to sort of get the inside tidied up a little bit, get some of the loom out of the thing, but probably the most visual thing we've done this year is we've given it a little bit of a refresh, which we will probably reveal a little bit later on, and a bit of the story behind what's gone on with that. Yeah. But no, we are, like another person who's in this room at the moment, I'm trying to shift some of the Christmas and the COVID weight out the way. Paul, obviously, he shifted all of his as well with the biking. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just basically trying to the big challenge this year has been trying to find the funds. Obviously last year we slipped up in the championship, so we weren't able to. I think we put up a reasonably robust defense of the championship, but we ran into a great racer in an excellent car. So, well, not literally.
It's good to hear.
We were second. I don't think we did us any. I don't think we let ourselves down in any way. Of course, I mean, the biggest part of the prize money up until this year with the fantastic DRC prize money, the biggest part is getting your entry fees paid for the following year.
Yeah.
So, you know, we are in the position now where we were 3 years ago. Obviously, I'd had a sponsor for a little while, and I'd had that sponsor for 4 years, and we had a really, really good working relationship. You can see their engine carbon clean. They came in. One of the things that I always say when I do all of my sponsorship proposals is the first £300 of the money that I get from it goes back to the VWDRC. And we did that with Engine Carbon Clean, and actually they came on board and sponsored the DRC for a couple of years in their own right as well. The thinking behind that was purely selfish, in that if I went out first round, then I knew that all the finalists in both classes were going to have my sponsor stickers on. So that's what the thinking was behind that. It was
clever thinking.
It's just making sure that they're getting all the exposure that they possibly can do.
No, that's it. I mean, you've always, I mean, having that and bringing them in was brilliant. We had the guys come along and they brought their equipment along a couple of times as well.
Yeah.
And obviously they actually went all in, because they did end up having their adverts on the PA system and stuff like that. So kudos to you, sir.
Oh, well, a lot of it is about having a product and having a good product to be able to show. Unfortunately, I mean, I know people who are firing out 80 to 100 letters a month to various people, and they're just scattergunning out. I looked at it slightly differently, and I just identified 2 or 3 potential market areas for that. One of them was the idea of engine carbon cleaning was beginning to pick up a bit of momentum. It was all over the social medias, etc. So I just went in. I said, okay, who are the 2 big players in this? So Google told me the first one was Engine Carbon Clean. The other one was a company called TerraClean, who've got a slightly different process. So I was sat at work one morning. For those of you who know, I'm a teacher. I did a bit of research, found out, Companies House, you just find out who the directors are. Dear Dennis, dear Sheila, here is my proposal. This is why I think we might be a good fit. And I fired that email off at 8:30, and I then taught my first lesson. And at 10:30, I got an email back with, let's talk. So we did. We drove down, we met with them, and we got on really, really well. And it was a good deal for them. They decided, obviously, with changing directions. They had 4 really good years with us. That gave us the springboard, if you like, and the opportunity to be able to do what we do. And to be able to do what we do very well. Now, obviously, there's lots and lots of people in the club who are far more mechanically minded than I am. They've got much more of an, I understand the mechanics of it, obviously. But when it comes to sort of remapping or, throwing gobloads of nitrous at it, to answer Ed's question, no, I haven't fitted the nitrous yet. So what we looked at, we thought, well, let's do things slightly differently here. Let's look at the idea of doing the bracket racing and trying to look at the scientific side of that a little bit more. Because, as I say, I'll never be in a position, I don't think, to put together an 8 or a 9 second car like some of the superstars of the sport are doing. So you play to your strengths. And my strengths were, okay, let's look at this. Let's see what we can do with some of the driving techniques, trying to make sure that I'm the absolute best that I can possibly be with this. So we looked at, some of the people in the States. There's a guy called Luke Bagaki, who he's actually moved over to Supergas now in the States, and he won the NHRA Supergas title last year. But he's had sort of 15 years doing dial your own brackets. And he's got a lot of stuff on the internet about that. There's another guy who
is he the chap who made a living from just doing bracket racing, going from race to race to race?
I'm just coming on to him now. That's a guy called Brett Kettner. Brett Kettner, who does a lot of writing for NHRA, and I think he did announcing for the NHRA.
Sorry, John, I'm going to have to pop out. My car man's just messaged me saying he's coming for a look at my car, so I'm going to have to duck out and
all the best, Paul. Although if he's a Volkswagen guy, why is he not watching this?
He's trying to buy a car for me for lots of money, so that's why he's watching this.
you better come back with a handful of money.
Oh, make it rain.
Yes. I'll put you in the background so you're good to come back.
All right.
There's a guy, this guy in the States who Luke was alluding to, Brett Kettner. He did some columns for Carcraft magazine called Mr. Dirt, And he basically made money flying into racetracks in the States. He would hire a car, go to the track, enter it into the equivalent of what we would call Sportsman ET or VW Sportsman. And, you know, you can make a lot of money bracket racing in the States.
He didn't even have a bloody race car. He just used hire cars.
Yeah, he used hire cars. There was one time he did it literally for S&G. He went to the local limo place and hired a stretched Humvee, which was running 28 seconds. And he went there and he won, you know, he'd won like $5,000 at one of these midweek bracket races. The rollout on the front end, I think, was about 3 seconds. I think he was leaving as the first amber came on and he was still in stage. He was on like sort of 45-inch tractor tires. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, we looked at a lot of the stuff that people like that are doing. A good friend of mine and my mentor is a chap called Chris Parker, who used to run in Super Pro. And one of the things that he says that I've sort of passed on is he taught me nearly everything that he knows. And I say that to some of the people who I race with. And lots of it is just about, you know, things like driving the top end. So getting a handle on that, being consistent, obviously, all the time with the car. It's more difficult in the DRC because the vast majority of us in Sportsman are changing gear. So we've got three pedals to deal with. There's been a few people in the past who've used DSG. My friend Holly Sanders, she won the championship with a DSG TT, and there she is. So she's done very well with that. But it's quite cool in the DRC, as I say, because the majority of us are changing gears. And what's brilliant this year is there's a lot of us are also using 80-year-old tech to do this, because there's so many air crews coming back in now, and that's fantastic. That's really, really cool.
What I like is a lot of the guys that are coming in with the air-cooled cars is the junior dragster, the ex-junior dragster actors. They're all coming in with those cars, and they are doing fantastic, not only themselves, but for the club and for the sport.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've got Morgan joined us a couple of years ago for the COVID Cup. We've got Lot Bradford, who's Morgan's cousin, who's joining us this year as well. So you can see there's that background and that heritage there. Of course, we had Jack Gooding last year, who'd come up from the juniors. And they've just added so much to the class. It's been really, really brilliant. I mean, Darryl Bradford made a comment on one of the commentaries that whilst I have a few years on Morgan, she's actually been racing for 3 or 4 years more than I have, and she's done probably twice as many passes down the track as I have. So,
well, you've got a half her passes.
I've got what? Sorry.
So for every 2 passes she made, that's only 1.
Indeed, on the 8th mile. I think, I mean, as I said, the juniors have come in, and with the COVID Cup, and I was guilty of this, Morgan got in all of our heads, me included. And so we came to that first event, and I raced Morgan for the first time, and I absolutely threw it away. I was there, I'm holding the thing on the staging brake, and I could feel the car beginning to creep, and I thought, my God, this is Morgan Wilson. What am I going to do? And at that point, I did nothing, and I went red, and Morgan then carried on, and she just walked through the rest of the field. So I went away. I had a think. I kicked myself about it a little bit. There is a saying in the sport that you never lose a race. What you do is you either win or you learn something. And I learned something at that point there. And, well, let's put it this way. She hasn't beaten me since. So,
there you go. That's the fighting talk.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I'd love to go a lot quicker. The constant ribbing is, have you put the nitrous on yet? And I own a nitrous kit, and if I put the nitrous on it, it would take what's a reasonably consistent car and make it incredibly inconsistent. It would probably bung £70-80 a weekend on my bills, which, you know, I've been divorced twice. There's not a bottomless pit of money here.
You'll be divorced 3 times before you know it.
Oh no! I waited till the 3rd one to get it right, just in case she's listening.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, winning never ever used to bother me until I started doing it. And then suddenly I really, really liked it. And it's, you know, it would be great to have a 12, 13-second car, but it's nice to have a 14-second car and some trophies as well. I mean, it's nice to have a 14-second car again, but, you know.
No, that's it. Well, you did do that at pre-season test day. You were back into the 14s.
Yeah, it's interesting. We scratched our head with it for so long, and the first couple of years with the Golf, it's a 4Motion 2.8 Mark IV Golf for those who don't know. It started off brilliant, 49, 49, 49, and then suddenly it was 15.2, and then it was 15.7, and then it was 16.1, and then it'd go 14.9 again. And you think, well, what the hell's going on here? So we spent a lot of time trying to sort it out, getting to the bottom of the wiring, looking at the videos of it. I mean, at that time, you weren't allowed to data log in competition, but we did a bit of data logging in Run What You Brung, etc. And all it showed all the time was it was just pulling timing all of the time, pulling timing. So we rewired everything. We spent a fortune on ignition coils, all of that. And then actually we started last year when we did the August drag day singular last year. I normally run it with about 24, 26 PSI in the tyres, just to try and get the traction. But for the first run, I'll try something here. So I sent it down to the start line with 40 PSI in it. And of course, there was more wheel spin, as you'd expect from all four wheels, and suddenly, bang, 14.9. Okay, not quite sure what's going on there. So we went back, we put the tyre pressures back down to where they were, and suddenly it gained 0.8 of a second. So it seems like there's something going on there where it actually needs a little bit of wheel speed to actually get it.
I don't want to put you in the same category as a top fueler, but even though you're spinning, you're not actually moving and breaking the beam, so you're getting wheel speed up before you actually. So by the time technically you're actually starting the clock, you're at say 15 miles an hour with your wheels. That's how we get the quote with Top Fuel Dragster. They're doing 100 mile an hour before they even move. It's because the wheels are spinning, and by the time they break the beam, they're already doing 100 miles an hour.
And I mean, with anything, anything putting out those kind of horsepower figures, if you try and dead hook them anyway, it would just rip the back of the car to pieces. You know, they factor in wheel speed or wheel spin into what they're doing. And of course, at the top end, the growth of the tyre gives them an extra gear. You know, that gives them that overdrive that they need. So a combination of that and trying to, we try to manage the slip and the wheel spin as much as we can. And another thing that we've discovered is it really, really, really does not like methanol in fuel or ethanol in fuel. So Shell V-Power would drag it down. It doesn't like that. So now I find at the last test day that we did, we ran it on SO Synergy, which apparently is the only 99 octane fuel you can get that's got nothing in it. It's got no methanol. It's got no ethanol that they cut it in like they do with the V-Power. And then I could see during the day, as that fuel was getting through and as the ECU was picking it up, it was chipping away at the ETs all the time. So now we've got, it was a bit of a trek today, but I've actually managed to find some. So, I've got a jerry can now, which is sealed and it's filled with SO99. So we should be good now for this week and for next week as well, or for the week after at the spring speed.
Good. Well, Dave.
Yes.
We've got you in the room as well. Of course, we're talking bracket racing stuff here. Does that factor in any of your plans ever? You obviously may have seen some of the bracket race stuff, or are you all just heads up, all out?
Heads up, all out.
That's fair enough. That's the reason we created the heads up class, because there was a number of people who literally said, I've got no interest in bracket racing. I just want to do the heads up. And we were like, that's fine. As soon as we got enough people, we can create the class and come and do it. Now, obviously, if Heads Up class was ever to become an MUK class, so we had it at like this weekend coming up, the Festival of Power, then obviously it would require putting a roll cage in your car. Is that something are you getting to the point now where you're maybe thinking that you need a roll cage, or
Yeah,
are you holding off as long as possible?
I will hold off as long as possible. Being honest with you, you know, it's you're taking weight out to add weight in.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, you know, if I can get away with it and not doing it, then I will. But if needs be, then that's what needs to be.
No, that's it. I mean, you're at the point where you're doing over 160 mile an hour, and I'm like, oh, I mean, I know you're in a newer car, so they are a lot stronger. Yeah, but I mean, like when we watched, I don't know if you watched TX2K a few weeks ago, or TX220. There was a lot of the fast cars there having some bad times.
Wow, some devastating effects of some of the racing.
Yeah, that's it. And obviously, hopefully, some of the newer cars are going to maybe eventually get some roll cages in them. That's one of the reasons we're holding off at the moment, because we're trying to build up the class, but we also need to make sure that when we go to that stage and then you require the cages, we don't lose half the field, because they're like, you know, I'm not going to put a cage in my car, and that's the whole reason. I mean, it doesn't apply to you really, but like Wayne Gill, his car, he could technically come and do VW Pro because he's got a car newer than 2010, but he's basically got almost the only thing you can't change is like turbos. You can't put an aftermarket turbo on. You can go in with your stock turbo and your hybrid and stuff, but as soon as you change it over to an aftermarket one, then you need a roll cage. It was basically brought in because there was a load of GTRs racing, and they wanted them to race in the JDS series. And it was like, if we do this, will you race? And they were like, yeah, sure. And then they did it, and then none of them raced. the usual way these things go.
Luke, you'd remember this, Luke. Who was the guy with the Skyline that run what your bungs, who was knocking out sevens? Was he in a Skyline or a GTR or something?
A GTR, yeah. There's a number of them.
Yeah. I mean, it used to scare the bejesus out of me, because you'd see them get out and they've got shorts and t-shirts on, and
no, that's it. No, they are getting a little bit stricter these days. I mean, we all know all it takes is one big crash, and then things will change, because that's what everyone is, isn't it? They're all, what's the word? They're all not. Is it? What's the saying? They're not reactive, or I don't know. Can't remember what the saying is, but yeah, you know what I mean. No one does anything before; they just wait until something happens and then go, "Let's do it now."
So I saw. I mean, 20 years ago, there was an interview I saw with Robin Reed, and he said, I mean, he's getting insane speeds and mile an hour out of that 2.5 Daimler he's got. And what he said in the interview was every car he's ever built, he's built it intending to crash it, because he knows that one day it might do. And if he can think about everything that's gone on. And even at the level I do, you know, I know and I do practice getting out of all four doors on the car, you know, so in case it is inside at some point or whatever, I'm reasonably confident I can get out the thing. Now, I know the accident, if I have an accident, and God forbid I don't, it's going to be nothing like on the scale of some of the ones that we've seen at the pod. But I think, you know, when I first started doing this, my then girlfriend said, what are you going to do if you crash? And I said, well, why would I do that? Why on earth would I do that? But, you know, accidents do happen, and it is there in your mind a lot of the time.
That was kind of, well, it was not the main reason, but like the other week when I could not quite fit in the race car, I was like, I said to the lads, I was like, I can fit in. I was like, but I definitely can't get out. And I was like, so both you have a go. Whereas at least now I can get back in and I can get out should I need to. That was the main thing when I started off. I had the hands device, which most people have now got, and because of the seating position with the dragster, because you're not laying down, but you're in a much more laid back position. To get the point where I have to do that, it dug into me boobs, because I've got big boobs like a lady, and I couldn't quite get to the position, and when I did finally manage to get up, I had the bit at the back hit the cage and knocked me back in. So that's why I changed to the hybrid device, and now that's freed it up so much better. I can get in and out with that. But obviously now that we're back with like COVID be gone, we've got scrutineering this year, because I noticed a few people are like, I've got my race pack, but I haven't got my my start line pass for my crew. I haven't got this and that, and it's like, yeah, because we're back to pre-COVID rules. So anyone who is coming up to this race this weekend, and maybe it's again for the people who are doing it for the first time ever, or if it would be the people who have just raced for the past 2 years, in your pack, obviously you've got your entry tickets and you've got your pit passes, but you have to go down and now to signing on, show your MUK license, your SPRC membership card, and then you'll sign on. Your crew also need now to go down and sign on physically, and basically that's just to check that they're not under 18 when they're giving out the voucher, and obviously to make sure that they've signed their life away should the worst happen, and then they go, nah, it's not our fault.
Well, it's an obvious thing to say. I mean, anybody who is new to the DRC and is coming this weekend, and as you said, they haven't done any of that stuff, there are still enough of us old hands around the place, you know, so come along and ask us if there's something that you're not sure about. There is no such thing as a daft question. You know, we're all keen to get people in. Somebody said the other week, drag racing's the one sport where you'll help your opponent beat you. If your opponent's struggling, you'll help them out so they can come out and beat you.
It is true. It is true.
Yeah.
I mean, in all classes, everyone's always literally in and out of different pits, just helping people out. Someone will break something and word will go around and it'll be like, oh, do you have this? Do you have this? And it's like, yeah, it's down the road. I'll go and get it. Even this weekend, like Andy Turner turned up with the TT and he was like, my turbo's broke. It was like, anyone got a H635? Jake was like, I've got a 40. He was like, if you drive me there, I'll go and get it. You can have it.
Yep.
Anything to get a car back on the road.
Yeah.
What's that?
So
confused me then. It was a private chat thing come up. That was Dave. I was like, what's this? That's never happened before. I was like, what's that? Steve Metcalf. That's it. He wasn't. That's in the private chat. You have to at the top of the comments. But Steve Metcalf, as a new to the proper process question, do you have to sign on before scrutineering or vice versa? So sign on for. We used to sign on first, and then they give you the form. Do we get? Have you got your tickets yet, John?
I have, yes. I believe it's gone back to as was. So you go down and see Kathy in the signing on office, down by the start line. She then gives you a form. You then take that up to the. You then join the queue. The big piece of advice I would give people who haven't been through formal scrutineering before is make sure you've got everything. Because the times people get up there, they've got their car. Well, where's your helmet? Oh, it's back in the caravan. And at that point, they will send you back, and you're back on the end of the queue. So you only do that once.
I mean, I think the quick ones will be make sure your car's clean. If you're turning up with a dirty ass car, they're not going to be happy. I mean, they'll still pass you, but they'll just be like, fucking piece of shit as it's gone. Anyone with a helmet, which is new since COVID, you're going to take a $5 up with you because you'll need to buy a little MUK sticker to go on the side of your helmet. And then the usual thing is obviously take all your racing gear, just chuck it in the boot, lay it out. You can chuck it in the boot while you go up. And then just as you're coming into the shed, just lay it out nicely. So all they have to do is pick it up, go, yes, gloves. Bingy gloves.
So they can, I always lay mine out so that the arm of the fire suit with the tag on it is sort of folded up on the top. So the first thing they see is the tag for the fire suit.
So it says stickers for nitrous as well. Again, I believe you can buy them in the scrutineering shed. It's a little green sticker that says nitrous. Anyone who's running it should. So. Yeah, that's it. You could just be wannabe.
The other one is make sure your battery terminals are covered. They're very hot on that. Make sure your battery's secured. Duct tape over the positive terminal is quite acceptable. They like a bit of yellow tape around the wire coming off the negative, so they know where to go in and cut it to isolate the whole car.
That's it.
Yeah,
it's a simple thing.
but
And of course, ask anyone. Yeah, I was going to say, I shall be there from Wednesday night. We're gonna, well, I'll say we're Vosen's going to fit the head and build the car up, so I'll be available, milling around, just taking videos and photos. And again, once people are set up, there'll be other VWDRC members that will basically just be joining basically spending the day in the scrutineering crew, because they'll take someone up there and they'll go through the process with them, bring you back down. They'll come down, someone else is ready, and they go, right, we'll take you up again. And it just for the first one, the people go, oh, what's this scrutineering? If your car's safe, you've got nothing to worry about.
Yeah,
they did scrutineering at Cornwall, which I was quite surprised. It was good. They, checked all the usual bits and pieces. Wanted to bonnet up, wanted to boot up, check the battery, check wheel nuts. Something as simple as that.
Yeah,
James Gould knows about
that. Yeah, I've seen that when I was racing up at York. 5 years ago. They had a reel B in their bonnet about numbers of wheel nuts on race cars, and I thought, well, surely nobody turns up with. And the scrutineer said, you would be surprised. You would be shocked and amazed. So.
That's it. No, I mean, a lot of people do question, especially the people who come over from VW Action every year. They're like, is there scrutineering? And I'm like, no. And a lot of people are surprised by it, because even when we used to do Shaky for a run with your Brunks, they had scrutineering. York does scrutineering, but Sandspod, for some reason, just don't do it. I mean, I'm guessing it's because they're a lot busier.
Yeah.
But don't know. Oh well. So yeah. So I'm definitely looking forward to this weekend. John Gallant says, aiming there to be early Thursday morning. Give me plenty of time to get through stuff. I mean, that is also a main thing. Don't forget, this weekend there is 312 people entered. There is a lot of big rigs. If you've never been to Sandpod before for a main race meeting like this, it will blow people away, because it is completely different to a GTI festival day, USC, anything like that. It is complete. When you drive into those pits and there is HGV, the place just transforms.
Yeah.
Especially when you get to 9 o'clock in the morning, because don't forget, if you arrive on Thursday and get scrutineered, you can chill till lunchtime Friday. If you're arriving on Friday morning, or you arrive after, say, 5 p.m. on or go for scrutineering after 5 p.m. on Thursday, you ain't going to get scrutineered. You're going to be then to 7 o'clock in the morning. At that point, you can't start your car till 9 o'clock in the morning. So you've got to push your car from essentially where we usually are, which is just behind the toilets, all the way up to the scrutineering shed. Now, for some people, that's perfectly fine. You got crew. Half your crew don't want to get up in the morning because you probably had a few drinks the night before.
That's even if it's a road car as well. So if you're on full silencers and you've driven it in, technically speaking, once you get it past the gate, it's then a race vehicle and subject to all the rules.
And if you're against John, he'll be protesting you. He didn't push it up.
Absolutely not. I've never. One thing I've never done is protested anybody. So
that's it. That's only because it's 50 quid.
Yeah, if they start charging you to back people out when they double bulb you, then I'm in trouble.
Well, Keach says I can confirm pushing the car with no power steering on slicks at 7 a.m. on your own absolutely sucks.
Yeah. So there was one popped up earlier on. Actually, I'm looking in the chat here. Somebody said, "How much do we take into weather conditions?" What I'd say is weather conditions can affect things hugely. The biggest one that I look at is headwind or tailwind. That's the biggest weather decider for me.
That's an easy one.
Pod, aren't they?
We got some big fans.
Tailwinds are very rare at Pod.
Yeah. And funny enough, they only ever come on the quiet days at Santa Pod. And I get up into the tower and I'm like, ooh, tailwind. And then I look in the lanes, I'm like, there's no one here. I'm like, tailwind, no one here. And I put it on Facebook. I'm like, tailwind, everyone, get here.
I mean, one of the things I do is, generally speaking, the first class out in the morning is Pro ET. And there are some racers from outside of the VWDRC who I look at what they're doing in the first couple of rounds. And I can then compare that to what they've done previously. So you can see what the track conditions are like, what the weather conditions are like. One of the ones I use all the time, and this is another tip I got from Chris Parker, is Brian Huxley, or whichever of the Huxley family are there. You know, because you know they're going to be on their game. So if you can see what they've done in their first round of qualifying half an hour before you go out, then yeah, that'll give you a clue.
Yeah, well, I think we're in quite a lucky position this weekend because we're not out till lunchtime on every day.
Yeah.
So that's going to give all of our guys. I mean, like I said, if you're scrutineering on Thursday, Friday morning you can wake up. You've got majority of the morning just to sit and chill. I mean, we're not out until after the pro session as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're going to get to see a little bit of the pro session. Obviously, you've got to be around near your car and ready to go. I know some of the pro guys have got stuff to do to their cars to prepare them to go down. Obviously, like a few of us like warming up the cars before we go down and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, obviously, most people hopefully have got the running order. That's another thing. Like Dave said at the weekend, I said, do you like the difference of doing Run What You Brung to actually entering heads up competition when you know when you're going to race and you just come straight down? Does that help you in competition, do you reckon, Dave?
Definitely, because like if you go to Crail or something like that and you're waiting in queues, like even when you come to Run What You Brung, car's too hot, you're turning it off, you're pushing it. It was quite easy. Start the car a few minutes before, get up to temp, run it down, and it's perfect. You know, so you've got the optimum of everything there. You know, you're not worrying about other stuff. So yeah, it was perfect for me.
What I need you now to do is again encompass all of the guys with the fast cars, with the new cars. I need all of them to come and race. I know that's more competition for you. Probably not. You're like, yeah, I'm going to invite them. No, hell am I inviting them? They're quick.
Other than me, I'll just leave them out.
Yeah, that's it. Just reading some of these comments. Jacob says that's data logging, naughty boy, John. I don't know what that was to. What for?
Every run.
yeah. Well, you can do these days. Originally, you couldn't. But it got to a point where obviously so many people are running ECUs and stuff like that you couldn't police it. Where in the old days, obviously, most people have carbs and stuff like that, so it was all good. But now it's got to the point where they just went, do you know what? Go for it. I think can you even use traction control these days?
Yes.
I know you can with heads up because it's no issue. We don't really run any rules.
They started to struggle with it a bit. I mean, in the quicker cars, the Pro Mods, etc., you used to be able to get something called a slew rate controller for the MSD ignition. And that was effectively, it would pull timing when it picked up wheel speed. So that was effectively a form of traction control. Now, the top fuelers and the funny cars have a little timer, which it literally twists the distributor around a set period into the run. It's usually, Bob Jarrett used to do it about 0.6 seconds into the run. It would pull 3 or 4 degrees of timing out and then feed it back in. Now, that was a way of getting rid of tyre shake. And it's something you could do because it was on a preset timer. So you're allowed to do that. Then some of the Outlaw Pro Mod guys running blown alcohol in the States were able to modify this slew rate controller that MSD did, and they could effectively have traction control. There were rumours of a fairly high-profile top methanol team in Europe using it a few years ago. As with all these things, it's really, really difficult to prove. So I think it reached a point at the end where actually policing it was becoming more difficult. So I can't pretend to know if the slew rate thing is being used in top methanol and pro modified at the moment. What was interesting was at the first Door Slammers event, I asked a few of the crew people there, well, actually, you're not running under FIA rules now, so are you trying anything else? Are you trying things like traction control and different blower rotors and things like that? And it's funny, none of them answered me. Can't think why.
What a surprise! What a surprise!
But I mean, at that first Door Slammers event, Matthias Vulcan came over with his Outlaw Pro Mod, bigger blower, traction control, the whole lot, and suddenly, bang, he was running 5.5s.
Yeah.
Which was 2/10 quicker than anybody had gone. So it shows what is possible.
No, that's it. Talking of engines, though, Dave, obviously, it was only yesterday that I realised you weren't in the VWDRC group. I think you probably were before, but then you changed the profile.
Yes.
And so I added you back in. Now, obviously, in the group, there's usually a lot of willy waving between the VR6 boys and the 20 valve turbo boys. Of course, do you think you have got what is like the greatest Volkswagen Audi group motor these days, or is there something better?
Well, I look at I follow some of the people in the States, and Malacca Motorsports, the boys out there putting a VR6 turbo into their RS3.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that they've done to that is just unbelievable. You know, built in the garage at the house.
But it looks nice. It hasn't gone in the car yet.
It's in and running, apparently.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, using Cyvex, so it's controlling everything.
Nice.
Well, we'll see how well it does. But I think it's so easy to put an RS3 together.
Yeah.
You know,
don't say that.
It is, and a lot of folks together. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we can do with it.
Well, like I think it was like it's probably about 5 years ago now. We had Racing Line, the Volkswagen motorsport kind of division thing, sponsor the club, and that was through one of the guys who used to race in the club, Matty Walker, who is now like the head of not the head of Volkswagen. He's something high up in Volkswagen Motorsport. He gets to go all around the world doing stuff. And at the time, I think I don't know if the engine that you've got now that was in the it's the same engine that you've got. Is that in the TT? Is it the TTRS?
Yes, the Mark III, the AS one. Yes.
Yeah. So he was at the time going, why don't you put one of these engines in your dragster? And I was like, yeah, I love it. And he's like, it's only this much. And I was like, how much? I was like, not a chance. I was like, I can't afford that. And like, now I'm at the point where I'm like, imagine if I had got like seeing your guys' performance. I'm like, technically it would have fit because I think it's a 5-cylinder it's no longer than a VR6, or I can imagine it's not much longer because obviously the 6 cylinders are just a little bit apart, aren't they?
Yes. When you measure, well, I'll give you for instance, David Lee when he took his 4-cylinder out, like Doug has done, and put the RS3 right in. There's not much difference. There's a little bit of movement on the mounts to mount either way, but they fit so easy.
Yeah.
The engine bays are the same size. The mounts are in the same point.
True.
They just slot straight in.
Oh, see, that sounds terrible. No, at the time when he said it, because it was a brand new engine as well, I was just like, yeah, I've got no chance of affording that at the moment. I just had a stock VR6 and I was like, what I need to do is make this fit and we'll work from there because I know obviously what I've got will work with an R32 as well. So
yeah,
if I wanted to get to the point where we need to change engines and go R32, then I know it'll all fit. But keep seeing some of the cars these days. I'm just like, do you know what? That would have been a good idea because the amount of money I've spent on the VR6 in the end, anyway.
Yeah.
But then if I do break them, I've got like a little stockpile of VR6 engines. Where I mean, how much is one of those motors that you've got now, even just to buy as a stock?
Well, we had a customer come in and had blown his stock car, not tuned. Had a mishap with it, and it was 16.5 grand plus VAT just for a bare engine.
Ouch. You okay there, John?
Yeah, scary.
Yeah, and that's why I do bracket racing.
Yeah,
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
I only ever do the lottery on double rollovers because otherwise it wouldn't be enough for what I've got planned.
I'm going to be honest. I'm the same. I need to see it like 50 million before I go. Yeah. I'm going to waste my money on that. 50 million. I can spend 50 million. 8 million's not enough. That's like a couple of seasons in Top Fuel. 50 million. Now we're talking Luke Stevenson, Racing Division, all the boys in my group chat. We all become Cletus McFarlane. We're going to buy a racetrack. We're going to build silly, stupid cars. And just go make a YouTube channel. That's the dream right there. That's the dream right there.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that.
Unfortunately, I don't play the lottery enough because it doesn't roll over enough.
Yeah.
And even when I do the lottery, I leave it about 3 weeks so I can pretend to myself I might have won it. That might be the golden ticket, and then eventually I crumple it and go, and then the disappointment comes. Oh well. But yeah, one day we'll get there. What's the RS3 record? Do you know?
The RST saloon record is 8.95.
Oh,
it's not
that's
far away.
Not that far away then.
No,
that's achievable. Is that Hank?
No. Oh, sorry. No, I've done the UK one. No, 7 seconds. Hank.
Oh.
He's 7.
Yeah, you just jumped there.
Miles away. That's lots of niceness.
It is. So who's got the 8-second one? Is that Roberto?
Yeah, Roberto.
Nice. So that's another car we need to get. That's another car we need to get involved. I keep nagging him.
Yeah, he's too busy. He says. I keep nagging him.
It's no good to me.
Yeah,
that's a shame. Oh, so 7s. That's a big old jump. That is.
That's huge.
What sort of mile an hour is that?
173, I think.
Okay. He's got to have that caged. That's got to be caged for like nearly 170, 180.
I think so.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's Jesus.
And a parachute.
Oh well. Yeah. That's it. Well, see, you haven't had that feeling yet. That's a great thing. You get the acceleration, and then you pull it, and you get the deceleration. I'm only doing like 140 when I pull the chute because the car's so light. It just stops me. Brilliant.
Has Jacob tried his yet?
No, he packed it at the weekend, but he did really well. He got to the semi-finals, being the only front-wheel drive in the semi-final. Yeah, he just couldn't get the traction down this weekend, so his mile an hour was down by about 7 or 8 mile an hour. And then also we kind of just said, right, this weekend he was like, shall I do it? And we were like, I'll be honest, I'll just concentrate on running and see how it goes. And then when we get to next weekend, then have a go. I think the wind was a bit all over the place, and it was one of those. It was like, now you want to do it into a headwind or a tail, and you don't really want to do it in the side wind or at all.
Yeah,
but especially for your first time, and hopefully, obviously, this weekend coming, there'll be someone down the bottom for a nice parachute shot. You turn them on.
I imagine that will probably get Pirate's attention the first time he pulls the parachute in the loop. If there's a bit of a side
we were joking about it because obviously when we got Jacob's parachute out, because Andy was giving parachute lessons this weekend, he got it out and Jacob was like, Jesus Christ, that's quite long, that's far away. And we were like, imagine what it's like going to be on Pirate's car when his car's only this big and you've got two lengths of vehicle a mile away.
Gosh.
Yeah, it'd be good. But yeah, obviously Pirate's gonna be getting it ready. I dropped the car off at Liam Ross's today just to do a final bit of work. I do love towing a race car around. You just drive and then people are looking at it and they're like, look at that. And I was like, I'm towing a Lupo with a parachute on the back. it looks badass.
Yeah.
Oh well. Right, and gentlemen, we're an hour and 14. Pirate has not yet come back. Of course, we've got a couple of little bits to do before we finish because Jon Crawford has got his unveiling because he's been busy trying to make something different on his car. Should we crack into that? I was thinking, John, we'll start off. Obviously, you started many years ago.
I did. Yeah.
And you started off in the Sharon.
In Sharon. Yeah, it was kind of a midlife crisis thing. I mean, I first started going to Santa Pod in 1979, November, when I was 12 years old. It was basically my sister, who at the time was courting a man called Dave Grundy, who is still racing now. He's in ET Bike, and those of you around my pits will have seen Dave a lot. So I had sort of 30, 35 years of attending, driving down from Lancashire coast, and then that became a bit of a pain, so I moved down here. So the fact I live in Northamptonshire is entirely because of Santa Pod. So you could say that my children wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the place. And then I got to 43, 44, and I'd just separated from mother of my children. And it was, do you know what? If I'm never going to do this thing, or if I'm ever going to do it, now's probably the time to do it. And there was a throwaway comment made by Tethys on Facebook that sort of, yeah, do you know what? I am going to have a go at this. Okay, what am I going to do it in? I haven't got any money. Oh, I'm not sure. I'll think about it. Went to work in the morning, opened up the door. Oh, look, there's the Sharon. Yeah, let's have a go in that. How daft could it be? And with Sportsman ET, it doesn't matter if you're running 18s, 22s, or 12s. So we got that. We had a lot of fun with it. There were a few races where I drove to the track, slept in the back of the Sharon. So we take all the seats out, put an airbed into it, and then get up, drive it down, race it, and then do the same the next night. And we had a lot of fun with it, and we learned a lot. Then it was at a Summer Nationals event, and it was one of the first events I'd done with the VWDRC. And people who race their street car actually have a huge advantage because you know the car inside out. You know exactly what it's going to do. At that point, I'd done 120,000 miles in that Sharon. So when I launched it and it got to 60 foot and there was a grunching noise and it suddenly stopped, I thought, no, it's not supposed to do this. What's going on?
You panicked. I remember seeing your face.
Yeah, it was the first instinct was, Christ, how am I going to get to work on Monday? So we pushed it back to the pits and it spat a drive shaft out of it. And so I turned around to talk to a couple of people, and you were there, Luke. And I remember you described it as being like a pack of Mexican gardeners that descended upon the car, because by the time I turned around to look at it, they'd got the wheels off it. It was up in the air. The under tray was off. The problem had been diagnosed. Okay, onto GSF. Dave went down on his motorbike, came back with a drive shaft, and Papa Herb, in between qualifying rounds, fitted it for me, and I missed one qualifying round. And the next run after he'd fitted that, it was a PB. So that taught me two things. It taught me that the VWDRC is the best club in the world. And it also taught me, perhaps that sinking feeling about being able to get to work on Monday isn't something I want. So we started looking around at something else, and we did our research, and we thought, okay, maybe four-wheel drive might be something that would be useful. And at the time, they were giving away Mark IV 4Motions. So we looked at a few of them, found one up near Hull, bought it back. We made the money back we spent on the car, basically from selling the interior and the different bits of it that we were able to get sold. So at that point, it was a little bit like the sex bug. It became almost this self-financing thing.
Way to do it.
We got into that, and for the first 2 years, I was dreadful because I had to learn how to drive the rotten thing again. So that's where we were. We had the engine carbon clean money, which was brilliant, which Luke showed the photos of earlier on. And much as sentiment is a wonderful thing, if people aren't paying, they don't get the name on the car. So we took that vinyl off. We left the bottom bit on, which was the bit with Crawford Motorsports on it. We left that on for a couple of years, which was nice. And we got to this year and we thought, do you know what? It's probably time to have a fresh look for the thing. So we thought, I couldn't afford a full respray. I couldn't afford a full wrap, anything like that. And with my history in the sport and having seen, you know, the early funny car drivers back in the 70s and the 80s, last year we lost a guy who was a hero to a lot of us of a certain age, who was a racer called Dennis Priddle, who some of you might have heard of. His nephew actually is, or used to be in the club, Chris Priddle. And Dennis had a funny car that was all black, and I thought, okay, maybe we could look at doing a little bit of a tribute to that. We've got this black background. So we had a look on eBay, we found some bits of vinyl, and Luke, are you ready to do the unveil? I mean, this isn't a huge deal, but it's quite important to us. This is our Dennis Priddle tribute car for this year. So it's up there. It's not got its proper wheels on. It's on the trailer. And
I like that you managed to fit this on while it's still on the trailer.
I'm up there on my own, and getting the car off the trailer is a two-person job. So what was really nice was Jeff Glasser, who crewed for Dennis and did the original paintwork on that car back in '77. It was put together for a Swedish guy called Olavi Scrutineering, who was in Sweden. He was the equivalent of David Beckham at the time. He was a very big ice hockey star.
So earlier I was looking at that photo and I was wondering exactly what that is. So I'm glad you're saying.
It's Olavi Scrutineering, and he wanted to go drag racing, contacted Dennis, said, can you build me a car? And Dennis did. And I'm not quite sure what happened after that, but Dennis ran the car in those colours for a year. And then the Swedish gentleman, I don't know if he bailed for whatever reason, but for whatever reason, the deal didn't pursue. Dennis is stuck with a funny car. So he painted it blue and it became the JWR logo that we've got now. And I said, I met Dennis again a couple of years ago at the last Dragstalgia before COVID. And they say you should never meet your heroes. And in this case, they were absolutely wrong, because he was brilliant and he was interested in what I was doing. You know, showed him some photos and what have you. And he said, you know, just keep on having fun. It doesn't matter what level you're doing this at. So, and that's always been the thing, is to always have fun with this. So hopefully now there's a thing going to go on Eurodragster in the next couple of days as well. So hopefully people will see it and they'll like what we've done with it.
Good, good. Are you going to finish it off like this? I tried to find the right font, but
there is going to be something very similar to that going on there. Yes, we've got.
And I mean, I said earlier, I put in Crawford Motorsports on Google Translate from English to Swedish, and I was like, yeah, let's make this good. I'll transfer this Crawford Motorsports, Swedish, please. Crawford Motorsports. I was like, what? That's useless. That's useless.
I think it's Bill Sport, is because Bill Sport magazine, who used to sponsor a lot in the 70s, a lot of the 70s and 80s. So Bill Sport is motorsport or car sport, I think it actually is.
Oh.
So yeah, we'll get it all finished. We'll get the rest of the vinyl done. Get the old race numbers back on, which are hopefully going to be temporary for this year. I think it's going to be a tussle. I like to think I'll be there or thereabouts. It's nice that people like Jack Gooding would come up to me and say, actually, I'm quite worried about racing you. And I took that as a huge compliment. That was, I mean, bless him. I love Jack to pieces, but I was living in his head rent-free all of last year.
That's gonna be Dave with the rest of the Heads Up class, that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish.
I raced Jack 3 times last year in first rounds, and he went red every single time he raced me.
Nice.
And the second 2 times he did it, I knew he was going to do it as well. So that was good. Say again, Dave. Sorry.
Mental torture.
Well, there's people say stuff about why do they call you the professor and things like that, and there's this people talk about a spreadsheet that I have people's results on. I do have a spreadsheet. It's got every run I've ever made on it, and it's got the weather conditions and the headwind, etc.
That's what any good racer does, though.
Yeah,
I note down what runs did and how it went, all the incrementals. the weather and stuff like that, and you need it. And then when you come to a certain race and the weather changes, you can open your little book and you can have a look and go, right, this is what I ran. That's the best way to do it. That's the clever way to do it.
I mean, the other thing I look at, there's some lovely comments in the chat. Thank you very much. I mean, the other thing I look at with regards to the opposition is their top end speed. Because that way you know if you're going to control the top end or not. And you can do that. There was a really good example against Steve Stone last year, who's got a very similar car to mine. And I knew that, you can see there I'm in the near lane. And I won that race by, I think it worked out, it was under 2 inches. And the videos there on YouTube you can look at. And you can see that I'm literally womp, womp, womp at the top end. So he's catching me and then suddenly back on it again. And I knew that I could do that because I'd got 5 miles an hour over him at the top end. So, I mean,
Jacob Bailey says, whatever you do, don't race Dave Henderson then, John. He's got about 70 miles an hour on you.
Yeah.
I was at York in Sharon, and somebody had got the John Mayer Beetle, the one that Clarkie's got now.
Yeah.
And he'd got 50 mile an hour on me at the top end in Sharon. And I got to 1,000 foot and he'd still not moved. And I thought, I've got this. This is really great. So I lifted and then suddenly he came past me. I got out to find out why I'd stopped. And it was this... It was one of the scariest things. I mean, you look at, we talk about controlling the top end. You look at some of the super gas and the super comp cars in the States. They're dialing in 990 or 890, but they're trapping at 180, 190 miles an hour. And they're doing that with the throttle stops that they've got so they can control that top end. Absolutely. And they've got that advantage there. And where super gas cars in the UK are doing, maybe 140, 150. I know NHRA did have to look at it at one point because there was somebody in they basically got a pro mod car, detuned it to run 890. So if you're in an 890 car and you're trapping at 160 and a pro mod comes past you at 240, if there's going to be an accident, it's going to be a big one at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the things that I look at.
That's good. Well, it's been a good insight. Well, gentlemen, we are approaching an hour and a half. That's been the longest one we've ever done. So thank you very much. I mean, John, your insights tonight have been brilliant. Hopefully everyone that's been watching has enjoyed it. Dave, you're I'd say relatively new to the club, so it's nice for everyone to get to know you and stuff like that, because we only see you at a couple of events here. And the one thing I do miss is obviously you do the one-day events, which are completely different to a full race meeting, because over like this weekend, Easter, we're there for like 4 days. So people are milling in and out and they're sitting down and getting to know people a lot more. Whereas on like the single race days kind of thing, everyone knows you're busy. So people don't want to bother you and stuff like that. So they don't get to meet you and know you as much as they would if you're at some of the other races. So hopefully we'll get you along to some of the like drag days and stuff like that, where we're there for a couple of days. Of course,
drag these.
Good lad. Well, of course, this weekend is Festival of Power. It is round number 1 of the VWDRC Championship for VW Sportsman and VW Pro. If you're watching this as just a VWDRC fan, hopefully you're going to come along. You're going to come and grab a Lapse Times magazine from the stand, mugs and all that stuff. John, you got your social medias. Where can people follow you?
Absolutely. Crawford Motorsports on the gram and on Facebook. How down with the kids am I? The gram.
John, you're a 50-year-old. If you come out with TikTok, I'm going to end this. Start saying the gram.
He's like, well down with the kids, in it, blood. But Dom looks after that. My lad Dom, he's hopefully coming out later this year. We've got a 1.8T swapped Lupo up at the unit, which he's done a lot of work on. So hopefully we'll be able to get him out this year. He's taking his time with it. He's doing it properly. The people on the Lupo forums get really, really upset with him because he's taken a Lupo GTI and cut it up and put a 1.8T into it. So
Damn straight.
Yeah, they're a little bit sort of precious about that. But hey, it means it's got all the lighting panels. So yeah, hopefully he'll be out with us and we'll have a 2-car assault, if you like, on Sportsman this year and see how we go.
Nice, nice. And Dave, have you got any company pages or anything you need for guys to follow or updates?
No, we don't really.
I know your main Facebook page is hidden. You don't want people following that.
Yeah, we've got DH Automotive and MRC Tuning Scotland. That's our 2 pages which we're on up here.
Yep.
Perfect. And of course, mine, EFWD Luke. If you literally put that on Facebook, you'll find my races page. And if you put that on Instagram as well, you'll find that. Of course, VWDRCTV, if you've been watching this on YouTube, thank you much. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And anyone that's watching on Facebook, again, thank you. Hit the like. Loads of you have been commenting, which is brilliant. It really helps with the Facebook algorithm and just hit share and stuff. Right, gentlemen. Dave, it's been a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you at Drag Days. John, I shall be seeing you in a couple of days at Sandspod Raceway.
Good luck to everybody, and good luck to you, Dave, as well, with where you go with the car. It is awesome. It is awesome, man.
Sweet. Have a good evening, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.